Hello. Today I'm going to be drawing this rove beetle. The photo is by James Reben. To start, this rove beetle, it is a bit more complicated because usually when I sum up the abdomen and the thorax, it's always kind of really hard to tell what is what when you have these insects with multiple segments. So I had to look up the anatomy of a rove beetle, and I found one. And just to show you, it's very weird. So it's like here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't know if you count the last one as a segment because it's not really. It's more like, um, well, there's also one kind of tucked. So it's like there are 7 segments and like this end part. So the reason why it becomes complicated is because it apparently has wings right here. It's very hard to see, but there is a separation. They're kind of like, I keep thinking of stone tablets. You know, when its wings are down, that's kind of what it looks like to me, like two stone tablets, like right next to each other. I keep thinking like the Ten Commandments or something like that, but they're like right next to each other. So it doesn't have its wings spread. It's always very interesting with a lot of bugs, beetles. I think most beetles have wings of some sort. I could be wrong on that, but this is a very interesting challenge because it's a beetle. Kind of looks like an ant to me, and the legs are spaced very, very weirdly. So like I can't sum up the thorax into one piece because of like how it is. I was thinking of maybe flipping this example, kind of working from this angle. A nice little feature I put into my app that I made. This is Thumbtastic, by the way. It's free. I think you could help digital artists a whole lot. It just allows you to pretty much open a window of an image, and it like you can resize it to proportionally different views. Because I think the original image may be a lot larger. It's like a really good, nice, high-resolution image. I really like this photo because it really does a good job at showing the individual segments of the leg. And I just like it. I really like it. I can't say enough how much I like this rove beetle. So I think, you know what, maybe I will go with the original view. Okay, to start off, I want to draw like a line of action that I want to orient all of these segments along. So, I kind of placed it a little bit too high. So to start off, I think I should have gone a little bit faster. I think kind of like that. I probably should have gone a little bit further for the head. I sometimes have to try a few lines until I get one that I really like. And I keep thinking I may have to try it again. I think that's actually a good one. So, I will start off with smaller segments to connect everything, and I will eventually add more additional forms onto this initial line. So I guess I also want to spend a little more time looking at the beetle. I think I kind of jump in way too fast a lot of the time, and perhaps it may hurt me. So, the more I look at this line, I do like it, but now I keep thinking maybe I should have gone out a little bit further for the head. There's a lot of estimating I'm trying to do to orient the parts of the beetle that I'll be drawing. And there are just so many parts. It's really, really interesting. It's an interesting challenge. I keep thinking earwigs. This is not an earwig, it's a rove beetle. So I think earwigs have that tail, or they have those two pincers on the end of them. Okay, so to start off, I'm going to draw kind of a bit of an oval shape for the head. And I will add on to this because this form, I probably should have made it a bit smaller, to be honest, because I want to add all of the additional forms. Like this, this rove beetle also has mandibles. It kind of looks like a modified ant. I know it's not an ant, but kind of looks like that a little bit to me. I kind of went a little bit too overboard with that last line. Okay. So now I want to do the, so if you look at the thorax, it's kind of like in two segments. I believe it's all centrally located around here, but it appears, well, not really. It's like, it appears like two of the legs are attached to this part of the thorax, and the other four legs are attached here. I think this is really just one piece, but the way the shell is, it kind of makes it look like it's two separate. But it's like continuous with how the thorax functions. So like it's a bit of a difficult one to do, but I guess I'll try to summarize it into one shape. And I want to set boundaries because I want to draw a bit of a bean shape, and I kind of want to summarize it. So I'll put little dots like here and here because I want to work within that boundary to put the thorax. And it's really interesting because a lot of the bugs that I've run into, they're not usually like that. So working with it, I will be trying my best because there's also that little bit of there's like a little bit of an interconnecting point here. So trying to work with that is a bit of a challenge. So let me think. I'm going to draw like a bit of a thin bean shape because I will be adding more forms. Actually, I want this shape to be a lot thinner because I'm going to be adding these additional forms on top of it once I get to the gestural layer. And I'm trying to ghost my lines. When I say ghost, if you have 2 points, you try to practice the line before you actually draw it, even though I missed it. You could do this for all types of lines, whether it would be straight lines, C curves, S curves, an ellipse of a varying degree, or even like a shape, in which I'm trying to do at this point. And I think going at it thinner is a bit better in this instance, so I could place all the shapes. You don't always have to execute things in terms of shapes. You have to do what's comfortable for you. Like, it may be better for me to execute it in a series of 2 shapes. Like, one shape is kind of going a little bit out and kind of curving in a little bit, and then the other shape is a bit kind of like that. But you do have to find a healthy balance for what works for you. And I also want to add just another little shape here as a reminder to myself for how I'm going to be doing the separations. Like I wanted to draw quickly a little bit of a separating area for the wing connections, just so like I kind of know what to do soon before I start adding more additional structure. I do think adding little hints of things that you're going to do can be very helpful. Actually, the more I look at it, I may have underestimated them. Maybe I should have made them a little bit larger. Like, it should have been more going out more than I did. About like that. Okay, so now I want to draw another shape to summarize the abdomen. The abdomen has all of these interesting segments, and I am going to try to draw them as proportionally as I can. The other thing I wanted to note, probably right now is a good time for me to attach the legs real quick, because all of the legs are attached to the thorax. So, and looking at the anatomy picture really helps me show the whole picture. Because like if you were to take it at face value, you may accidentally attach the legs to the abdomen, which they're not attached to the abdomen. Like insects that have wings, it always seems like their two back legs are significantly farther back than the front four or the front two pair. So in this instance, looking at the anatomy, it kind of seems like the two front legs are kind of a bit halfway of the first segment. So like there and there. And I'm going to quickly draw another line of action to kind of show, well, it's a bit more straight. Yeah, probably a little bit like that. Kind of like that. And we can't see all of the leg segments. We could see a good deal of them. But you get that. Insects are very quirky. And I think especially when you're taking a photo of them, they are going to behave even more quirky because they're afraid of getting eaten. And could you blame them? They probably always are afraid of being a good meal to some type of bug. Now I'm attaching the middle pair, which are significantly closer to this part here, kind of like the start of the wing covering. They're kind of like right sandwiched in that area. I feel like I should quickly make a diagram for you to kind of show the segments, just so we have an understanding. I'll do it on a new layer, and I'll hide it occasionally. But this is going to be the head, because like I said, it could be really confusing to understand. Understand the individual parts. I probably should have drawn the abdomen before I did this, but I'll roll with it. I'll quickly do that. I think I also want to summarize the abdomen into a bean-like shape, but I don't want to make it too large. And to go back to our diagram, sorry, I had to clean my screen for a quick second. And the abdomen, and I'll show you, because there's a lot more to do with these. So I'm going to work on attaching the legs now. Interesting thing, it's kind of like going here about halfway down, then it's going out a little bit, then it's going down, then it's kind of going like that. Yeah. Now I'm going to do the leg on the other side. A lot of it is being obscured, especially the initial bean and that second leg part. or actually, sorry, just the initial bean, and we're just seeing, like that bean shape, then it goes down, then it goes kind of out like that, a bit like that. Now, I'm going to draw the two back legs. And the interesting thing about the two back legs is that looking at the anatomy diagram, it kind of looks like they are on the abdomen. That is not the case. It's just where the thorax and the abdomen are connected. It's like right here. So like the insect armor, the plates here are kind of like covering it. And they're kind of like behind the wing plates. So I'm going to kind of put an ending to the wing plates. They kind of like go a bit kind of like that and kind of like that. I will be doing all of these shape connections soon, so please don't think that I'm going to leave that out. So it's kind of like the leg is attached, the back legs are attached here and here. Perhaps I should have made the sausage a bit more uniform throughout. I kind of tapered it over here, but I'm going to work with it. So in this instance, they're kind of going, they're a bit further. Kind of like that. And the other one over here is a bit more folded in, so we're kind of fighting with it a little bit because some of it is obscured compared to this one, or not so obscured, we're just kind of working with a bit of a different, well yeah, definitely obscured. And insects will do that often. Makes me wonder if it's like, do I need to quickly fly away? Which, you will see beetles fly once in a blue moon. But it is very rare. But you will see it occasionally. It may be quite surprising to you. I want to say I was in my room once and a stink bug flew at me and I didn't know what it was, and it was just like something was coming at me. And I was like, what the hell is that? Yeah, they're very docile. I do like beetles, the ones that don't bite. I mean, I know most insects don't bite unless they think they're gonna die, but I am particularly fond of bugs that can't bite. You know, I have so many stories. I don't want to go on a tangent in this video, but I one time almost accidentally swallowed an earwig. Now I know this isn't an earwig. I know it's a rove beetle, but it crawled into my water bottle, and it was the middle of the night, and I was getting a drink, and I was like, "What is this?" And I spat out my water all across the room, and the earwig was wiggling. He was alive, and I took him outside, but I was very freaked out. Okay, so back to the beetle. Okay, so we have the initial parts. So looking at the head, you know, I want to say this additional form here, like the mandibles, like I'm pretty sure the antennas are connected just to a form kind of lightly going out, because I'm also looking at an anatomy picture, and you know, if you take this insect at face value, it kind of looks like it's chompers or mandibles. It looks like the antennae are attached to that, and I don't believe that is not the case. It is just attached to the head. It kind of like ever so slightly kind of goes out a little bit. So I am going to jump to our structure layer, and I'm going to add that additional form, because it's really hard to see, because this initial ball that I made here was just to kind of work with laying in everything initially, but I have to add a lot onto it. I kind of have to add some structure before I can add some more gesture. So I think when I do this, I'm going to add like flat shape, and it kind of goes out a little bit, then it kind of like resumes being flat, kind of like that. And the interesting thing here is the head. The head is, no, I should stay within the bounds more. The head's a bit like a square oval. Gotta go out a little bit more. The head's a bit like a square oval. And the eyes are like attached here. Well, this one, this eye here, you know, you're kind of getting a bit of a perspective thing. It's kind of like showing more like a half circle. Not a half, yeah, like it's the ellipse degree that we're seeing is a bit different because of how we're viewing our rove beetle here. So it makes it a little bit more complicated to see compared to the eye right here, which is more ellipse-like. So it's not like a perfect top-down view. It's kind of like he's twisting his head a little, which I do believe that is an important feature to keep in mind, because sometimes you get those very subtle nuances of perspective. Like little things change and those little things matter. I actually made a video talking about the subtle nuances of insects, which is important to keep in mind of if you're trying to draw them accurately. Okay, so I have that. Now I wanted to draw the two ellipses to show the entry points of the antenna, which are like right here and right here. And I'm going to jump back to the gestural layer. And these antennae are, we're seeing two interesting perspectives. We're seeing one in which it kind of goes to, kind of like goes up and straight out. And this one just kind of follows a little bit of a curve. I think I should have gone out a little bit further. I think about to here. No, probably even further. I want to do that comparison. It's about there. That's what I would say. And now that I look at the back of the head, I think I should have made it a bit more more kind of like a piece of corn. Like that's kind of what I'm seeing with the head. Alrighty. So now I want to start working on some minor structure things. Again, I want to start with the, like its chompers here. They're kind of like they're like two segments. I think the mandibles are even smaller. It's kind of like that. Or actually it goes much further. Kind of like that. And that. And the mandibles, it's very hard to say where they're attaching to. It may just be a bit on the, it may be on the head, but it's kind of a bit obscured based on the perspective, so it may be a little bit further back, but we could just see one of them is obscured by the antenna. It's like right here, and I'm pretty sure it goes something like that. And the other one is a little visible, not all that visible, but it's definitely there if you look at the photo. If you look right, if you see where my mouse is, it's like right here. Okay. So another thing I wanted to say, I've been doing this video for 24 minutes, and if you are tired, I do recommend you pause the video and take a break, because it could be a good idea that whenever you're trying to draw something like this, it takes a long period of time to take intermittent breaks, so you don't stress yourself too much or end up making even more mistakes. So I want to add some structure. And that structure that I want to add, I want to start with like the first cover of the thorax. It's kind of a bit like, I don't really know what to call it. It's a bit like a shield. So, well, you know what, it's about the same size as the head. I mean, the head's a bit longer, but like width-wise, it's kind of like turning a bit. Actually, it's just a little bit longer than that. Sorry, I'm trying to make it equally on both sides. And the interesting thing here is as it goes down, it kind of just plugs, kind of like covers the base of the wings. And it appears that a shape that I'm having a really hard time seeing is there's apparently a little bit of a gap on the shield. It's like a bit of a triangle-like shape, and I can't really see it on the photo, but it's like right here. But like looking at my other reference, it is definitely there. It's kind of like a bit like a heart shape, more triangular, but it just kind of nestles in that area, right where the wings began, right here. I'll try to color it in for you real quick. And you know what, in this instance, I am going to color it in just for the demonstration purpose. Normally I wouldn't do that because it's kind of going to be obscuring these two legs here, but they're also a little bit obscured considering a reference, so I don't think it's going to cause too much harm to this example. But just know that those two things are there. And if you're wondering what that cooing is, it appears there's a mourning dove cooing out near my window. So I really like the mourning doves, even though it is nowhere near the morning. Okay, so back to the first part, this segment right here. Apparently it's called a prothorax. So that's that explains a lot. I mean, don't quote me on this. That's just what the anatomy thing says, and it kind of just like nestles in right on that shield. So the other form that I wanted to cover quickly is this. It's kind of like a glue intermediary area. I'm not sure what you would call it, but you see it right here. It looks like a pill shape, but you know it's going to connect the head to the prothorax, and it kind of looks like a ball. I think I drew mine a little bit larger than the reality, but yeah, it's kind of like a ball shape. And perhaps I should have gone a little bit. I should have pushed the shape a little bit higher than I drew it. But, you know, you make mistakes sometimes. Okay, so now I want to do the wing covers right here, and luckily I could just do a couple lines to really summarize them, or the tablets, is that's how I keep thinking of them. Oops, kind of went out a little bit too far there. I'll go over them just to show you. And on the other side, we have the same one. These are like the wings. Yeah, I don't believe all beetles have wings. I think there are some that like kind of flick. Maybe I'm wrong. I bet they do, or some type of glider. I don't know. I'll have to read a book on it, which I have a lot. Okay, the other point that I wanted to mention. Now, if you look really close at the wings here, there is an interesting shape. It's kind of like a separator between the two segments. It kind of like goes up a little bit, then it kind of goes down based on like the curvature of the wings. It's very subtle, but it is important because it's because these two wings, like, it's not one thing. They're two separate things. They probably like fold up or like go up and spread so it could fly. or glide. But it is an important structure to be aware of. Okay, so now I'm going to work on the segments of the abdomen. So just to tell you, this whole part here was the, well, I'll show you the diagram. The abdomen is this part right here, and I'm going to start adding the individual, they're like shell coverings. When I see these things, I usually think of like a wasp. If you ever look at the abdomen of a wasp, they always have these shell-like things. I always call it insect armor. I'll eventually find out the more technical name for it. I kind of like insect armor. Oh, tergites. I think they're called tergites. So I'm pretty sure, I wouldn't be surprised if every insect that has that type of structure, there's like a different name for it, for them. Okay, to start off with, I'm just going to clean this spit off my monitor. Okay, so for the first segment, it's a bit hidden under the shell. It's this one right here, based on the perspective. It is there. It kind of goes a bit like that. Actually, you know what? Kind of like that. The next one is, oh, you know what? I made that one way too large, and it should have been a bit closer. It's a bit difficult to see. The first one is heavily obscured. The second one is a little bit more visible. The third one right here is like a little bit longer. Fourth one here. Oof, I don't think I'm doing a justice. No, it's okay. Should have been a little, just it, like the next one is just kind of going, like they're all kind of like coming in. I'm trying to keep the effect. Going strong. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's okay. The next one is about here. Next one, I'm a little off when I'm drawing these. I keep making not a straight line. Darn, it should have been just a little bit further down. Okay, the next one right here, it's even longer than the previous ones. Oh, it's not that exaggerated or curved. Where did I go wrong? I went wrong somewhere. So let me undo a couple of these. I think with the second one I drew, or the first one I drew I think was okay, but the second one I drew, I think I needed to try to match the point a little bit more closer. So I'm going to try that again. Luckily with the power of the undo button, anything is possible. Second one. And what I'm trying to do here, I do want to break it down. Since these things are kind of like, I keep thinking of like a curved can. The initial point that I want to plot, I'm kind of looking at this area here, or like an area here, or an area here, where the separations are, and I'm trying to do it at the same scale, even though I am a little off in various places. But it kind of like curves up, and more so, then connects to that other shell segment. Okay, so back to what I was doing before. We have 1, 2, this one. Now for this one. Should have gone a little bit further. Okay. Now for this one. Okay. About here. Maybe even a little bit closer. About here, about. Okay. Now for this other segment. Significantly longer than the other segments. I think I could even push it a little bit more. About there. And this last part, I do see another separation right here. I don't think I originally counted it before, but it is definitely there before like the end cap. It's about like right there, and it kind of makes a different. It kind of like goes a bit like that. Kind of tapers a little bit. That's the point that I'm trying to get at before the end cap. Which the end cap looks very very flat before it connects again. Kind of like that. That is what I'm seeing. And I'm kind of wondering if maybe I made some of these points over here a bit too curved when I should have made them more rigid and straight. So perhaps that is a bit of a flaw from my end. But okay, so we got that handled. Now I want to focus on the antenna. The antenna shape. So I'm seeing an initial large, it's like a, tapering shape that kind of ends right where it begins to curve. It's larger at the top, and actually kind of is a bit concave. Okay, so now we have all of these segments. So if I were to count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm kind of like 25. I'm just going to draw them as I go. I may have to fit in a couple more. Because the shape after the longer shape, I'm seeing a bit of a teardrop shape. Then I'm seeing a bunch of these really, really small segments. I also want to quickly draw the end cap to our rove beetle. And then I'm seeing all of these pill shapes. They're kind of like ovals. Thick ovals. Like a pill of some type. And some of them are larger than others. Possibly it's a perspective distortion that we're seeing. More often than not, they look like stacking cups, but perspective will will skew things differently and make things look different than reality. Okay, now this side, there's a lot of obscuring, so I'm going to try my best with it. It's just because there's so much overlap, and it's kind of like this antenna is a bit more like going straight up, so you're kind of getting that distortion. But I think it is good to think of these antenna in terms of stacking cups. And now that I look at it again, a mistake that I may have made was making it not curved enough. I think it probably should have gone a little bit more that way than how I drew it, but I'm just going to work with it. Okay, the other thing I wanted to get are the mandibles, though we can't see one of them because it's directly below the antenna. Based on the perspective, we could see a little bit of the other one. There is a lot of obscuring going on because it's, well, the viewer seeing isn't the underside, so there are, like, the shapes are still there. We just can't see all the individual bean-like shapes of our antenna, so I'm just trying to work with what I have. It's very thin. It's like a very thin bean. Okay. So now I want to start working on the legs. And I will work on I'll work on the front two first. So it's kind of like I'm seeing it's kind of like a matched stick. I'm seeing some angle changes. Initially, it's kind of like they're larger the closer they are to the initial connection, and there's also a bit of a bean shape as like the initial attaching point, and it looks a bit straight in the case of the first leg, and over here we can actually kind of see it. It's kind of like that. And then you have all of these, what appears to be like tapering match sticks. That's how I would summarize them. I mean, it's a shape in itself. I'm just attaching how I know it. And it gets thinner as you go closer to the base. And these insects have like two little claw things near the end, probably to grasp onto whatever they need to grasp onto. Now the interesting thing here is, like, with this leg, based on their perspective, I'm seeing like a really thin like shape, and then it's kind of like a bit of a rounder shape. It's very weird. It's kind of like that before you go to the end. And I'm not seeing as many of those matched stick shapes. There's probably just a lot of obscuring going on based on the perspective. And it kind of like thins out. Like, it's really bizarre. I wish I knew what it was kind of looking like. Okay. So the second pair of legs, they are... I'm seeing like the initial bean-like shape. I'm not seeing all of it, but I'm seeing a good chunk of it here, and on the other end, I'm seeing it here as I connect to those initial attachment points. Now I'm seeing, they also kind of look like beans. You know, from certain perspectives, that's the matchstick shape that I always keep talking about. But in this instance, oh, sorry, I forgot the other initial bean. There's like another larger bean that attaches to that leg. It's kind of like flatter on one side, specifically this side, it's kind of flatter, and on the other side it's sticking out a little bit more before it connects. Here, connects like that. Connects like that. Then the end of the shape. Kind of like that. Kind of like that. Over here, it's that matchstick shape, but we're seeing more of the dimension of it, so it was kind of looking like what it was here. I keep thinking of it like a teardrop shape. Then the ending one, where you have the two claws. Okay, so the back legs. The back legs appear to be a little bit longer than the other legs, and some of them are also a little bit obscured, but I do want to keep in mind where the bean shapes are, and I'm also like comparing where the shell things are here to how long I'm going to make them. So it's like 1, 2, 3, and it's about there. 1, 2, 3, so it's about here. And it's really, yeah, it's just a little bit longer for that shape, that bean shape that connects. And over here, it's a bit more obscured, and I think I should have made it go a little bit further out. Because over here, it's also like kind of dipping below that leg, even though it connects to that one. And then we're seeing that ending matched stick-like shape, even though most of it is obscured by that second tergite. Okay, so this leg, the second longer matched stick thing, we're kind of seeing a bit of that teardrop shape with it based on how it looks, and it kind of goes to... It kind of goes like about halfway through this shell thing here. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. About here. Right here is where I'm seeing it before it connects. And then the ending one, kind of like that tapering matched stick shape that I keep talking about. And you know, I keep thinking about this. I think the direction, I made it go this way, but I think it should have gone more this way now that I look at it more. Okay. Alrighty. So yeah, those are the major things I wanted to cover on this rove beetle. It was an interesting challenge. I didn't add the hair. I'll leave that up as an exercise to you, as well as the texture, because this rove beetle has a significant amount of hair around its body. So, if you like my channel, please subscribe. If you have a question, please ask in the comments. I kind of wish I kind of curved the abdomen a little bit more. I think it should be a little bit more curved, and maybe I didn't do the best job at doing that. I kind of made it a bit too straight. And also the head shape is a little weird. It's kind of a little bit larger than the reality. And I think maybe the eye should have been down a little bit more. But hey, the more I look at it, I'll probably find more errors. I think the eyes maybe should have been a bit larger. Like it should have been a bit more like that. I'll color it in real quick for you. But hey, coulda, shoulda, woulda. But hey, you know, even if you are doing one of these, you could always come back another time if you really do want to perfect it. You could try to draw again and learn from your past mistakes. I do recommend you give that a try. It could be very beneficial, and perhaps it probably won't take you as long the second time around, because it always seems like in the learning phase it's going to take you a lot longer to do it initially. But it's just a part of the learning process, and it is definitely worth it. So yeah, I already talked about if you have a question or anything like that. But yeah, thanks for listening, and bye.